Hey guys, welcome back to my tutorial series for Visual Basic. This is video number 3, and in this video I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you first of all how to make a more complex message box, and we're going to get into if statements. So let's start by making this message box a little more complex. So let's see. We will write a string that will go into the message box and that will ask a question, and we're going to have a yes or no button in the message box. So let's get started. What type of question should I ask? Let's see. Do you want to know? Do you want to know what, I don't know, what 2 plus 2 is? Okay, I'm just keeping it real simple here. So here we have the string in here. Okay, now the message box has different parameters. Here we just used the first parameter. As you can see, this little message box has appeared. It says public function message box parentheses prompt as object. That means that that's the part it will print basically in the message box. The next part where it says buttons as Microsoft.visualbasic.messagebox.style, that means that's the type of message box that you want. If you just want a message box that just displays the OK button, you don't have to put anything after you enter the string or whatever it is you want to print onto the screen. But if you want to add a yes or no button, for example, there are many types of message box styles. But for this case, we will just add a yes or no. So what you have to do is to end one of the parameters, you have to hit comma. So as you can see now, this little combo box or list box came out, and it said, and these are the styles that you can choose from. Okay, these are the styles, the different type of message box styles, and the ones that we're going to use. Well, the one that we're going to use right now is yes or no. So you can do it this way. I believe you can also write it like this, VB yes or no, I believe. Let's see, because that's the way I do it at work. Yep, VB yes or no. Alright, but you can do it both ways. I prefer to do it this way because it's the way that Visual Studio does it. The other is pretty primitive, so I'll explain what the dot and all that is later. The dot's basically an operator. Okay, I'm sorry, an operand. So this is a method, and then it calls this type. Whoops. Control Z. Okay. But we're gonna get into that kind of stuff later. The advanced syntax we're gonna get into later, so don't worry about that. Okay, so now we have the message box with the string, the style, and after the style comes the title. I don't know if you remember when we ran the program. Actually, let's run the program now, and this way you can see the yes or no button. So if we run the program now and press the action button, see how the window changes? Well, see, it's in Spanish. Okay, forgive me, it's in Spanish. So do you want to know what 2 plus 2 is? If we hit yes or no, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to close the window, you know. So we'll get into that in a bit. So the third part of the message box is the title, right here. As you can see, this window application, that looks kind of ugly, right? You don't want that on there. So let's just hit no and screw that. So here we can say, we can type in a string. It's always a string, okay? The title it always has to return a string. So as you can see, in the message box, the part that's bolded out here, title as object equals nothing. Right now it's not equal to anything because I didn't write anything. So let's just say message box title. Very basic. And let's check it out. As you can see, it changed. Isn't that cool? Okay. Little by little. We're advancing little by little. Okay. So let's run this thing, for example. You want to know what 2 plus 2 is? I keep on hitting no, but let's see what happens when I hit yes, or sí, as they say in Spanish. Nothing. Why? Because we didn't tell it to do something if the user presses yes. So what I just said there, if the user presses yes. So that means that we have to use an if statement. So how the if statement works is you have to write if, and after the if you have to write the statement, or you have to write the statement. Don't pay attention to this, I'll fix it in a bit. I know it's disturbing, but you know what, let's just do that. Get rid of that. So if the condition, in this case, if the message box appears and the user hits yes, which in this case we have to say equals VB yes. Okay, this is the code. All right, I memorized it because I use it a lot, but in my first tries in programming, I didn't memorize anything. I always had to look back at the book or look in Google. So don't worry if this seems a little too much for you guys. Okay. So in this case, we have to say if a statement equals something, or if a statement happens, or equals true, or equals false, or let's say if we had a variable that was an integer, and if we say if that variable was equal to 0, then do this, or then do that. So in this case, if the message box appears and the user hits yes, then, and it automatically writes the end if. So every loop, every single thing that you start, I forgot to explain this in the first video and the second video, I apologize. I'll do this real quick. Every class that you start, every procedure that you start, every function that you start, and every loop that you start, or statement, you have to end it. Okay? Otherwise it's just gonna go on and not stop, especially if you do a loop. And the loops I'll get into after the if statement and all that. That might be in the next video. So whatever you want to happen inside this if statement, you'll have to write it in between the if and the end if. Okay? So, and if you wanted two different outcomes, which we will do in a little bit, you would have to write else, and then else blah 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 blah. But you still have to end the statement with end if. See? But we'll do that in a little bit. I don't want to confuse you guys more than I have to. Okay. So, what do we want to happen when the user hits yes? In this case, when I hit yes, we want to answer the question. Do you want to know what 2 plus 2 is? So we will write another message box that will say 2 plus 2 equals 4. Whoops. 4. There. I'm using a Spanish keyboard. Sorry about that. 2 plus 2 equals 4. And we will we won't have any style. It'll just be an OK. We'll have a title that says answer. Okay? So let's see what this looks like. we go and we hit our run program. Action. Do you want to know what 2 plus 2 is? Yes. So there comes another message box that says 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay. See? That's how an if statement works. It's not that hard, right? Okay, so now let's make this a little more complex. Let's say if we hit the no button, which in this case we write else. So if the user hits yes, then this happens. Else something else happens. So in this case we will write message box. Whoops, sorry. Message box, and the title will be "You will never know what 2 plus 2 is." ... Okay. We're not going to put any title. We're not going to do anything fancy. So you still have to end the if statement. Okay? As you can see, now there's no more errors. Even though you have an if and an else, if you want to add more stuff to the if statement, you can always say else if, whoops, sorry, else if, but we're not going to do that. And if you wanted an else if, you'd have to do another statement or condition right next to it. But I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to complicate things for you guys. Okay. So now we're going to see what will happen if we hit the no button. We'll run the program. Action. Do you want to know what 2 plus 2 is? No. You will never know what 2 plus 2 is. Oh my god. I feel so dumb. Okay. So that's the if statement. See? That wasn't so hard, was it? It's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. You can do nested if statements. That means that you can have an if statement inside an if statement. Okay. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do a nested if. So instead of telling the answer right away, we can say, okay, we'll write if, and we'll say, do you really want to know the answer? Okay. And then, whoops, I have to say, I have to put the style in. So message box, we'll just search it here, yes or no. So here we can do another equals yes. Or yeah, I mean I guess that works. See, either one or the other works. So if, okay, this is giving me an error because I didn't close this. So once I finish this, you'll see how everything works. Yeah, message box, do you really want to know the answer? Yes or no? And if we hit yes, then message box will appear as, as the answer is 4. I don't know. I know it's not the same as before, but we will, oops, I didn't close. See what happens when you don't close the string? It includes everything you write afterwards. So we will not use a style, and we will use answer as before. Okay, so now we have to end if, and see, now there's no more errors. Let me make this a little neater because I'm a neat freak when it comes to programming. Okay, so let's hit the button and see what happens. Do you want to know what 2 plus 2 is? Yes. Do you really want to know the answer? Yes. The answer is 4. Whoop-de-doo! So that's a nested if statement. And this works for all types of statements and loops. While loops, do while, do until. I'll get into that in another tutorial. Probably, I don't know if the next one, but soon we'll go through that. So before I close out this video, I'm going to explain the order of the if statements. So, as I said before, a computer program runs line by line. Okay? So, first it runs this line, then it runs this, then it runs that, and so on and so forth. So, when it gets to this, and the actual IDE highlights it for you. So, this if statement, but okay, let me see how I can phrase this so it won't be so confusing. This else belongs to this if statement, and this end if belongs to this one. Okay? You remember before when I didn't have that end if, and it makes the thing go crazy. It thinks that this else belongs to this if, and this end if belongs to this one. So you have to close every single loop or statement that you have. So we'll write end if, so the thing won't get mad at us. And there you go, it automatically corrects it. Okay? I hope that explained closing statements and all that. So, and I hope that you learned what the if statement is and what it's all about. And this message box thing is actually it's actually pretty useful for this tutorial. I don't know. I decided to do the message box because I thought it was like the easiest thing to do. And it's actually proven to be quite an asset for these beginners videos. So I hope that you've learned a lot, or whatever it is I'm trying to teach you, which is the if statements and the message box styles. And I hope to catch you in the next tutorials. Yeah, so in the next tutorial we're gonna, I don't know, I'll see what I'm gonna do. Maybe we might continue with other loops, or I might do something else and then go to loops. I don't know. We'll see. So we'll see in the next tutorial. This is Metal Days signing off.